I just want to thank you for your work. It's been very important work, and it's work that I think we have to look within the whole 21-year time frame to really learn the lessons we have to learn. How important is it to look over the full 21 years versus taking snapshot to snapshot when we look at this?
I think it's very important to look at the whole 20-year experience there and to also look at our experiences around the world. And that's where we can learn some lessons, because we don't have all of the knowledge here in the United States and obviously not in Afghanistan. That's what we're doing for the chairman and this committee right now in our work reports.
What is the status right now of the U.S. government in terms of recognizing the Taliban formally?
My understanding is that we do not recognize the Taliban, period, as the government. I think we even refer to them as sort of like, I don't know what the reference is. We don't recognize them.
I just want to be clear on that so that it's very clear for the record that the United States does not recognize the Taliban, just to clear up any conceptions that might have been coming forth from this hearing. Also, if you look in the context of 20 years, 21 years in this conflict, I also want to draw your attention to, February 29th of 2020, and it's when President Trump announced that we were going to withdraw. My understanding, talking to allies, there wasn't a great deal of notice for that. There wasn't a great deal of notice with our military for that prior to that. And indeed, when that kind of announcement occurs, doesn't that have an effect on how the withdrawal is going to be conducted from that point forward?
It does, and we've issued reports talking about the impact of those negotiations on the ability of the Afghan government to respond to the Taliban.
So getting back to the importance of looking at this over that time frame, it's important to look through 3 administrations and to look at everything that was done during that period if we're truly going to learn, which is what the objective of this committee is, from our actions, so that some of those actions in the future won't be replicated. In the little time that I have left, I just want to shift to Pakistan's role in terms of counteroffensive, but also in terms of the refugee issue. It's been uneven, I think, and it's something that's critical, I think, in terms of having them be a participant in this. Can you just discuss, if you could, take your time, and discuss their role and what they could be doing more, and some of the unevenness I alluded to?
I think the most recent actions by the Pakistan government we've identified as causing problems, and that has to do with, I think it was in October, they announced that they were going to expel all Afghan refugees. Now, these are refugees. These are millions of people who had been there prior to the Taliban taking over and since then. And, in our high-risk list for 2023, we talked about the problems with the resettlement program, and this caused major concerns because there are a lot of Afghans who worked for us, who are part of this SIV program and part of this program to get out of Afghanistan and into protection, who are covered by that initially. And I think the UN estimates there's 1.6 million Afghans sitting in Pakistan that are going to be returned. No, excuse me, 1.6 million, I think, Afghans fled. 600,000 are in Pakistan. Now, about 2,500 of those people, plus you got to add their families, are waiting for resettlement to the United States. So Pakistan, just on, I believe it was last week, said, no, we're not going to push those people back to Afghanistan and potentially to their doom, but we don't know for sure. And so that's causing a lot of concern for us at SIGAR, because we have some people sitting there too. And what was a real awkward situation is we got contacted by the State Department again, and they asked all U.S. agencies, including me, including SIGAR, to basically do a Sophie's Choice, to give them the list of the top 10%. and they would try to help them. And we did, but the situation where you're asking U.S. citizens to basically say which 10% are going to survive and what happens to the 90%, and of course there was no promise. So, I mean, I don't want to do a Meryl Streep imitation here from that movie, but that's what every U.S. government agency who had SIVs or other, people who were helping us had to do. We had to decide and give the names of those 10%.
All right, my time has expired, but I did, which I tell my colleagues, I'm leading a letter to the Pakistani government to try and have them reconsider the actions they're taking, because fundamentally they're at the crux of this particular crisis. I yield back.